Hello, my name is Steve Scott. I'm Managing General Partner of Scott Investment Advisors. We produce a continuing series of videos to help inform and educate investors on and investment professionals on the critical issues affecting wealth and the management of wealth today. These are briefs, in many cases from longer papers or research pieces that we have published before, or current issues. Some have been the result of requests by viewers. Should you wish the longer publication, don't hesitate. They will be available, and requesting them by emailing ScottAdvisors.com, and by the end of the tape we'll let you know whether the tapes or the longer publication is available. Today the subject is the SOIP, or Statement of Investment Policy. If you're a fiduciary, custodian, or have ever been a trustee to a tax-qualified fund, you are well aware what the mandatory requirements the Statement of Investment Policy entails. If you're an individual investor and investing on your own, or you may know your starting points and what your goals are and the time frame, but many of the details in between may not be as critically addressed as they are in a good statement of investment policy. Any investment professional, however, knows that a very important part of the investment planning process is the production of a investment profile regarding the journey of the investor. And if it's not completed or not a comprehensive document, we believe that should exist today, perhaps this video will help you. You would never think of building a house without a good set of plans, or a budget, or a contractor, or a timeline. Think of a statement of investment policy in much the same manner. It's a set of plans that are going to build a portfolio around your goals, the resources you have available, and the timeline. I've been a sailor for most of my life, and putting it another way, a statement of investment policy is a navigational plan and strategy to get you from point A to point B in the required time. The statement is a comprehensive set of do's and don'ts to keep in this case, the skipper or the captain from getting off course and missing the destination. I believe a well-constructed statement of policy should be both specific to the investor and the investor's timeline and goal, but universal enough that if remained unchanged by life events, that it can be marched down the street like a set of building plans and have other portfolio managers examine it, look at it, and potentially bid on the management of that. So let's briefly go through what I call the elite 8 items that ought to be included. First, identifying the goal, but in quantifiable terms, I think is necessary. And many times it's a vague goal. If we can specify a annual rate of return that is required, then we should just state that up front, whether it's 10%, whether it's 5%, whether it's another number. Number 2, you should specify the investment time horizon. If it's 15 years, say it. Put it down. Keep in mind, you have presumably already done the math to know that, for example, a 10% annual return over 15 years either gets you to or doesn't get you to your rate of return. If it doesn't get you there, you may be faced with making contributions on an ongoing basis. So presumably the math is done before you get to forming a statement of policy. Next, you should really select a recognizable benchmark that has a long history of producing the kinds of rates of return that parallel what you have specified as your annual goal. This should be used not as a mandatory threshold, but it should be used as a measurable guidepost to keep portfolio management centered in the right directional bearings. Number 4 starts to now fill this mosaic in with types of securities that are permitted or not permitted to be included in your portfolio. These will all bear on the risks and your comfort levels and so forth, but they should be specified, the types of securities, the asset classes, large cap, small cap, foreign securities, higher risk securities, or indexes, fixed income, so on and so forth. Certain industry sectors, industry groupings. These all then are included in a good policy statement. Number 5, remember to include sufficient numbers of security types and asset classes and sectors so as to avoid the risk of over-concentration. If, on the other hand, your return requirements are extraordinary, far above what would be achieved in the S&P 500, then the whole concept of diversification and risk management shifts to another area. It starts to break down. In a classical context, you are then required to reverse and concentrate rather than to spread things out. Number 6, we believe it's important to limit, as I said, the concentration level. So if we put maximum limits in higher risk or volatile areas like 25%, or so on and so forth, it again prevents portfolio management from highly concentrating in one particular area or another, maybe to make up for some mistakes that were made earlier. So we want to avoid that, to incorporate that into the policy document. And number 7, you want to make sure that you don't buy securities that all go up and down together. So including an array of asset classes and securities types and industries that have had a history of not going up and down together can be one of those important areas in policy that limit risk. This may also require the help of an investment professional. And then finally, this certainly may require some assistance, and that is when you combine all of these together, all the policies together, and you start to give shape to a portfolio, you want to examine the type of risk that overall portfolio has had and the historical kinds of ranges of risk that are inherent in this policy document to make certain that the navigational boundaries are not too far apart, that it's exceeding the risk that you really want to take to get the return that you've specified. Another useful purpose of the guidepost, again, is to limit the defined risk to that which is intrinsic to the benchmark. This represents the Elite 8. There are others. You can read about them in the publication by emailing us at AskSam@ScottAdvisors.com. SIA, however, has made the task a lot easier for investors and investment professionals alike. Each of our 6 SAM portfolio strategies have comprehensive statements of investment policy that have been built into each portfolio. They've had decades of testing, retesting, engineering, and validation. And there has been continuity throughout the last 20, 30 years. Each, again, have been quantified and engineered so that each statement of investment policy limits the risk around the goal of each of these strategies and thus prevents portfolio management from exceeding the boundaries of the playing field, but sufficient to achieve the goals that are spelled out in the timeline. For this reason, an investor, or for some reason, if an investor, again, wanted to change firms, they could give this document to any qualified portfolio manager and ask them to manage a portfolio around it. It also makes the annual review by the investor or the investment professional far more efficient and easier, because you just simply determine whether the policies have been met during the course of the review period. You determine whether the portfolio manager results are tracking the quantifiable goal that you've spelled out, and secondly, whether the results are within the range of the guidepost or the benchmark. If there are discrepancies between the actual results and the goal, or actual results and the guidepost, it's time to have a substantive Q&A with the portfolio manager and find out how it occurred, what the fix is, and when the fix is going to occur. We hope this has been helpful on the use of a statement of investment policy rather than just another compliance requirement for many years used by some and just stuffed into the file drawer. Thank you for your time.